Woo! No, it's not Ric Flair. It's Michael from Black Snow Comics, and I've been drawing every day for 6 months. That's 181 days by my count. And let's take a look at what I did this last month. So on the first day of June, I was just kind of messing around, didn't have anything in mind. Started kind of stream of consciousness drawing with my pen and paper. Came up with this mean looking bulldog here. Played around with a few different ideas. At first I was going to do something more of a hellhound, but then I ended up doing this. I think I was watching Good Omens at the time, and they had a hellhound, so that might have been on my mind. But yeah, and like I say every month, if you want to see this instead of just like a little thing here, go on to blacksnowcomics.com. I got my 2019 drawing gallery there where you could see all these in better quality, and you can even watch this in the background as a commentary or something. Then I started my Five Nights at Freddy's week, which went an extra day. This was pretty popular. People who requested things seemed pretty happy with it. Other people started coming out and saying how much they enjoyed it. So started with Foxy peeking out of the curtain of Pirates Cove here. And yeah, I've played, I haven't played every game, but I've played most of them. My kids are into it. It's alright. I mean, I don't love it, I don't hate it. Here's the puppet, or the ventriloquist. It's got a few different names. Marionette. One thing I did a little different here is I did purple all the way down. Usually it stops at the mouth, but I thought it was visually better looking this way. That's one thing when I'm drawing these things, is how much do you put your own into it, and if it's fan art and you're referencing something, how much can you change things without it being unrecognizable, or different things. Like this is a small thing, but yeah, and I wanted it popping out of the box. This reminds me of something I drew on a whiteboard probably a couple years ago, but it stuck with me, which was a Jack Skellington popping forward and looking kind of scary. Springtrap. This is the first one where I felt like, yeah, now I'm kind of nailing it. This looks pretty good to me. He's all falling apart, got all his innards showing, and he looks very weathered and damaged. Then I did Balloon Boy. Everyone hates Balloon Boy for whatever reason. He is a obnoxious character with all the laughing and not really killing you, just leaving you open for Foxy to come kill you. And I wanted to do him because he was visually pretty different. Then I think I really hit a stride here. I did this Golden Freddy, and I kind of went back to a few things here where I did like just a plain background that I thought really made it pop. I didn't use any shading as far as different tones. Usually the way I've been doing it for quite a while now is once I finish coloring, I'll go over with a layer where it's at an opacity of about 35-40%, and then I'll just do black on there to create shadow. But I didn't do any kind of shadow like that. Only shadow you're getting is straight black lines as if it had been drawn in ink. And I love the way this one came out. This one like got me excited when I was done with it. I was like, this could be a t-shirt. This is pretty cool. And then I followed that up with Mangle. People seem pretty happy with this one. I wanted to keep doing the same thing, so I continued that style of just no shadows, except for the black lines and then the black background and everything. And the endoskeleton, this one's kind of a pain just because it took so long. There's all this meticulous little details, but it looks good. Then I did the purple guy, and purple guy was kind of interesting because if you see what it looks like on the games, it's only in the mini games, and it's very pixelated, and it's like a little blob of purple nothing, so it's very open to interpretation. So I looked at what other people had drawn, and like I know a bit about the lore, and so I did him as a security guard and tried to make it more detailed. I like the way this one turned out too. This one's pretty cool. The single color, well, not single, I mean, he's got a few colors, but very limited color palette with the black speaks out to me. That's the type of art that I really like. And then I ended with the core Freddy gang here on the stage. This one, by the time I finished it, I was kind of tired. It was taking me a long time. It's a big difference to do 3 characters versus 1. And I did more than just close up, so it took me a while. It still looks good. It just took me a while. Then I did Banjo and Kazooie. I've been wanting to do Banjo and Kazooie for a long time, ever since I did my first that video game week, probably in February. And this was right before they got announced for Smash Brothers. This was the day before, I believe, and we were all excited to see if they were going to get a new game, or if they're going to be in Smash, or if they're getting a remaster or what have you, because there's rumors running rampant. So that inspired me to draw this, and it turned out pretty cool. It's kind of a different style. I like it. If I drew it again, I'd probably draw it differently. And then this one is the Simpsons couch. I posted this, just this, because I was running out of time that day and I was kind of tired, and I'd already done this as part of a project someone was paying me to draw their family as Simpsons for Father's Day. But I didn't want to put the whole drawing because it wasn't Father's Day yet, and I was worried that it was a surprise. I didn't want the other person to see it and spoil the surprise, so I just put the living room, which I thought looked good on its own anyway. I mean, if you're going to draw any cartoon location, this is one of the most iconic, and I put my little spin on it. It's got a little more shading and detail than you would normally see. And then I didn't put this up right away, but retroactively I added the photo of the family drawn as the Simpsons. So there you can see I've added them onto the couch. And it's kind of nice because I have that template in case anyone else ever says, hey, can you draw my family as Simpsons? I'm already halfway there. Then my son really wanted me to draw Darth Vader, and I wanted to try something different. I wanted to go back to that black background and only draw the white highlights, since he's such a shiny costume he's wearing. You could really pull those out, and I really like the way this turned out. It looks almost as if I had drawn it with like chalk or something, but I did digitally. But I really like the way this one turned out. I think it's pretty cool. I've always had kind of a fascination with black and white imagery and what you can pull out of that and how light can be portrayed, so I like to go back to that as often as I can. So you see I did some of that here. And keeping in that vein, this is something I had in mind for a little while, and I never got to it on Batman Week. So I did Two-Face. I did him in black and white, and I want to do the same thing where I really focused on the shadowing of it and everything. So you can see that it's very textured on his kind of messed up side. And it turned out good. My wife thought it was extra creepy. Then this one, my cousin really liked, and she wants me to follow up with some more Alice in Wonderland imagery, which I'd like to get to at some point. So maybe I'll do an Alice in Wonderland week, or I'll just start sneaking them in every once in a while. But this one, same thing. I was thinking, what can I do with black that only is highlighted a bit that look cool? And I was thinking about the Cheshire Cat for whatever reason. So then I did that, and I put his quote up there, similar to what I was doing with some of those Freddys I didn't mention, but I'd stick like pertinent quotes up there if there was something good and short. And then this was the first variant cover I've ever drawn, so it's kind of cool to be someone reach out to me to do the sketch cover for them, and they thought of me because they had met me at a comic show several years ago and bought my book, and I sketched for them, and I guess they saw me sketching the Max, or maybe I gave them a sketch of the Max, I'm not sure, but when they were thinking of Batman and the Max, I came to mind as a Max artist, which is pretty cool. For someone to think of you in connection with something that you admire or you really enjoy is a pretty neat feeling. And then I followed that up with the Ninja Turtles drawn as they appeared in the original Mirage Studio comics. My son and I have been reading the old comics, and he really enjoys them. Huge Turtle fan, so, well, he is and I am, so this is fun to kind of bring it back. And I did this on just pen and paper to try to keep it with that old school aesthetic. And I was thinking of it after I did this cover because it kind of reminded me of a similar style with the black and white and everything. And this is something I thought of doing last year at some point when I was rewatching the movie Willard. I wanted to draw, I had something close to this in my head at that point where it's him looking down at you and he's got the rats on the side and the hair looming and everything. So this has been in my head for quite a while, so I was glad to finally just get a chance to draw old Willard here, which I find is a pretty underappreciated movie. Seems like most people either ignored it at the time or forgot it exists, but check out the Willard remake. I recommend it. And then here's a request for Baldi. So Baldi's Basics I haven't played, but I've seen videos and know about it. And I wanted to add a little detail since he's such a basic character and make him a little more scary. Same thing I did with Bendy, and this one I drew traditionally with pen and ink because of the idea of him being made of ink. I thought that would be fitting, and tried to draw him melting on half of him to make him a little more scary and interesting rather than just drawing the very basic, cute, normal shape of it. And then I kind of started an unofficial video game week, another one, where I just started drawing video game characters pretty regularly. So here's Crash Bandicoot, and I kind of gave him a even bigger head because I was thinking of those original commercials where it was the guy in the costume and the head took up most of it. And I don't know, after I drew it, I was thinking it reminded me of the Boogeyman from the real Ghostbusters cartoon with his giant head and spiky hair. But I think I liked it. I think there's something inherently a little creepy about the character. And then I followed that up with a request for Spyro the Dragon, since Crash and Spyro have been linked over time. I have played the Insane trilogy. I haven't played the Reignited trilogy yet. I may wait to pick it up on Switch at some point, but I love both series. Then I decided to follow that up with Grim Fandango, and I want to go back to the black and white like I talked about before. This one I have very limited shadowing to kind of enhance it. I like the way this turned out, and this is something I've played with before, the way smoke looks in here. And I like the white highlights on the bottom half, since that's all black. And then I did Raz from Psychonauts, and I did specifically from a level where it's all black lights and different aspects of his costume pop out, and still same black background. I was thinking of the same kind of thing, just showing highlights. I always really like the way black light stuff looks, so I thought this would look pretty cool in this style. Love that game too. These are all games that pretty much I love for this portion of it. Then I did Day of the Tentacle, which is a great old point and click adventure. I did Purple Tentacle yelling and scaring green, so that's pretty cool. Follow that up with Cuphead. My daughter asked me to do Cuphead, and I have toys that are set up in the same thing where the devil's looming behind them, so that turned out pretty nice. Cuphead, another game that I really enjoy, even if it's a little too hard for me. I haven't beat the final boss yet. I'm stuck at the Dice boss, King Dice. Well, I haven't sunk a ton of time into it lately, but it is the kind of game where you just have to keep playing and playing until you master everything. And then follow that up with Guybrush Threepwood from Monkey Island series, another point and click. This was kind of fun to do because every game he looks a little different art style wise. So I took a few different things and put them together here to come up with this cartoony version of him, and have him holding Murray, the demonic skull, and drinking his grog. So another great series of games I love. And then I finished, didn't do any more games. I've been wanting to do a Watchmen and do Rorschach for a while. So this is the first time I've drawn Rorschach. Love Watchmen. It's been a big source of inspiration. I thought about doing a whole Watchmen week, but I'll just maybe dole out a few of my favorite characters over time. But I like the way this turned out. And Rorschach's definitely like the fan favorite. He's probably my favorite, although I also like Night Owl a lot. As I mentioned before, I like kind of broken down older heroes. Then I did Daredevil. I've been rewatching Daredevil on Netflix. I want to rewatch all the Marvel shows now that they're kind of ending and there's a complete story. So I just rewatched season 1. Now I'm watching season 1 Jessica Jones. Of course, this is more of the comic book style Daredevil versus trying to do an interpretation of the live action show. Pretty traditional drawing of him. And I like kind of the shadowing on the face in the front where you're lit from behind. Same type of thing I did when I drew Black Panther. It's a very classic kind of way to draw comics where the mask is kind of less detailed or more simple. And then I was watching Lion King with my kids, and I was thinking how much fun it would be to draw Scar, and I thought of some different poses and ways to do it, and then this part really stuck out to me where he's kind of rolling his eyes at how stupid the hyenas are. And then I found it was kind of a meme, so. And then the last thing I drew for the month was this cleaning cat for my wife's house cleaning business. I made her kind of a very basic logo before, where it's just very like more traditional, and her name's Crystal, so I worked a crystal into it. But she loves cats. She'd always wanted kind of a cat to be incorporated, so this is the cat we came up with after looking at different cats and talking about it. And she loves orange tabbies, so that's pretty cute. And as a bonus today, even though this is for July, I drew Jafar and Iago. So yeah, it was another good month of drawing. A few more times where I didn't feel like drawing something, but pretty much I knew what I wanted to draw, and it was just a matter of making time to say, okay, this is when I sit down and I draw. So, but it was good. I might make another video just talking about what it's been like for the full half year, and how that kind of feels. But as far as month 6, it was all good, and I'll see you next month.